If you're not embarrassed by the first 5 seconds of your podcast recording, then you waited too long to start
Then
recording.
you've recorded too late. Hey, everybody. This is Prompt and Circumstance. My name is David.
And I'm Ilan.
And today we're going to be looking at 3 AI tools that are very practical that you can use today. All right, so the 3 things that we're going to look at today is first, how can we use voice dictation in order to get a lot more productive? Second is, how can we use something like AI Studio, which is free from Google, in order to help us out? And third is, how might we use deep research?
Amazing. Looking forward to hearing those tips from you and sharing a couple myself. But before we get to that, David, do we want to talk about a little bit of AI news? Now is a great time to talk about our first sponsor for this week, Querio.ai. Querio is a powerful tool for getting data insights into your products. It allows you to ask natural language questions, and then it will find the answers in your data. It saves hours a week for me, the product team I work with, and our data team. And just for our listeners, they'll give you a 2-month free trial if you sign up today and let them know that David and Ilan sent you.
Yeah, so what's been happening recently is that Meta has been poaching talent from, let's say, OpenAI and also Apple. So what's been happening is that they've been grabbing some serious top talent from OpenAI, which is supposedly very mission-driven, and it's about the mission and not the pay. But apparently, if you offer, I don't know, $100 million, that's enough to circumvent the mission.
Yeah, I also would happily go to Meta for $100 million. You know, Mark, if you're listening, I'm right here.
Yeah, I'm sure Zuck is one of our subscribers. Yeah. Well, you know, one of their most recent talent acquisitions was that the top AI researcher from Apple. They managed to acquire this person for the sum of $200 million. So, I mean, you got to up your bar, Ilan. I mean, you got to go for 3.
That's pretty incredible. Also kind of incredible considering that Apple is not really considered in the leaders in terms of AI research. Which brings us to our second story. It was leaked last week that Apple is considering acquiring Perplexity for $14 billion, which is kind of funny to me because it's sort of like Apple saying, well, this was our plan all along. We're so far behind. You thought we were behind in AI. But actually, our plan was to just make this acquisition once we figured out who was the front runner. You know, 14 billion, that's pocket change for us. We're $1 trillion company.
Yeah, exactly. We just found it in the couch. Yeah, you know, I wonder if that goes through, the implications for Apple's relationship with Google, because as you might know, Google pays Apple a significant amount of money to be the default search engine on iPhone devices and Apple devices. So if suddenly Apple now owns Perplexity, and Perplexity is going to be a search engine, what does that mean for that relationship? It must be really big news.
I agree. I also wonder if this leak maybe is just a way to drive up the price for Google for next year.
Yeah, maybe it's a pump.
And speaking of driving up prices, Mistral, the European AI research lab, is reported to be raising $1 billion funding round, which is quite wild. They were previously valued at $6.2 billion in their previous round in 2023.
I wonder whether that valuation has anything to do with how amusing the name of the product is, Le Chat, which, if you don't know, chat means cat, and so they have a little cat there. So the language side of me is very amused by that.
Yeah, that's a lot of money for a cute little joke. Yeah, very curious to see what they're able to do with that. You know, Mistral's one of those companies we don't hear a lot about, but they have some really interesting capabilities, especially with on-prem models, so models that you can host yourself. So unlike the OpenAIs and Anthropics of the world, they're not forcing you to use an API to access that model's capabilities.
Yeah, you can build your own compute centers and run it on there. Well, why don't we get into it?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So for the very first one that I want to talk about is the fact that, typing is faster than handwriting, right? I mean, who would go into the office today with a pad of paper and get productive on that only?
I actually have a quill.
Oh, wow. You've upgraded from your stone tablet and chisel?
That's right.
So if we think about the performance gains on that, right? No matter what you do, although a spreadsheet on a stone tablet, I would want to see that. But no, your performance gains from the quill and the handwriting to the typing, where are we going next with that? And I would argue that the next step is using voice dictation. When people talk, they talk at a pace of about 120 to 150 words per minute, whereas typing is maybe like 40 to 50 words a minute. And so you're looking at a 3x gain right there. So this is technology that has existed for a while in previous iterations, but I would say that recently it has got to a critical level where the quality of the transcription is good enough that it can really replace a material amount of use cases where you would be typing.
Why don't you take us through one of those use cases and the tool that you might use for it?
All right, so this is just one example, and I'll show you more possible tools. But Aqua Voice is this great tool that you can use to dictate and type anywhere that you would type. And it has this really cool thing called deep context, which if you are, say, a programmer, it would have the context of your window so that you could just speak in code and it would know what you're referring to. If you have some variable name or a function name, it would just pop that in accordingly. And it's quite fast. So here I'm just going to speak into this little text box and let's see how it goes. Welcome to Prompt and Circumstance. My name is David and next to me is Ilan. And today we are going to talk to you about some AI note-taking tools. Not bad. It even got your name right.
Amazing.
Yeah. Now, it didn't get prompt correct though, so maybe that's a me problem. Now, the interesting thing about this is that it has a dictionary, and so if there's certain names or terms that you use in your regular day-to-day life, it's going to be able to incorporate that. For example, I work at Texata, and one of the products that we have is called SalesLink. Another one that we have is called iQuote. And I have both of these words in the dictionary, and it's going to be able to transcribe it just right. There you go. So iQuote, it has a lowercase I, and it's spelled like this, and SalesLink is one word. So you can see the power of being able to transcribe this.
Yeah, that's a really incredible productivity hack just right there. Also something that I recommend with the teams I work with and I use myself all the time. Yeah. So David, once you're done here in Aqua, do you just copy paste that into whatever tool you're using, or can you also dictate straight into a document or another text box?
You can absolutely dictate straight into anywhere that you will be typing. So, for example, here I'm dictating into Google Docs, and it's going to type straight into here. And look, it even capitalized Google Docs. It just knows the names. So it's quite good. Yeah. Now, Aqua Voice is something that has a paid subscription. It's $8 US per month. Alternate solutions. Let's explore some of those. Okay. So Windows actually has a voice dictation tool out of the box. At least Windows 11 does. Right. And so if I pull that up here, this is what it looks like. And I'm just going to start talking and dictating, and this is Windows, my operating system, transcribing my speech directly into this document right now. It's not bad. It has its limitations, but it's up to our audience, I suppose, to decide whether or not it's worth the trade-off for something free, where maybe the accuracy isn't quite at the same level as Aqua.
And interestingly, Mac OS also has a similar option. It's actually had that option for a long time to do dictation, but as you mentioned, David, the quality has increased significantly. So that's something that you can turn on just in your system settings and give it a keyboard shortcut and start dictating.
Yeah. And the last option that I want to show you here on my screen is that while I'm in Google Docs, there actually is a dictation function right here, and it's going to transcribe everything that I'm going to say. So it's not bad. I would say that if you are in Google Docs and you don't want to bother with the onboard OS dictation, then this is a very viable option.
A last voice dictation productivity tip that we could share is directly using LLMs. So let me show you what I do when I'm in ChatGPT. ChatGPT and most of the LLM tools that we might use every day also have their own dictate button. And if you're like me, sometimes it takes you a minute to formulate your thoughts, and typing can be a little bit slower because you have to do that thinking process first. So why not think out loud with ChatGPT and give it a prompt, something like this? I'm trying to put together a rundown for a podcast, and I'm thinking about different AI tools for voice dictation and how might they be able to help. And I'm not really sure. I think I'm also probably going to talk about maybe using these within LLMs. Can you help me to formulate this into a better prompt for an LLM to help me build a rundown for my podcast? And there we go. Now ChatGPT has gone away. I gave it very unstructured thoughts, and it will take that, and I've prompted it, and now it's gonna start the prompt that I was looking for.
That's cool. Yeah, I really think that people ought to consider using voice dictation a lot more. This is something that recently has changed for me, and I found that I had to get over my own ego with respect to my typing speed, right? It's like, oh, why do I need to be all weird and talk at my computer or at my phone when I can just type it out? Like, I'm a fast typer. But no, I mean, I don't type at 150 words per minute.
So what's the next tip that you got, David? So it's a great time for me to tell you about our other sponsor for this week, Colab. Colab is a product that will help you validate and build a product that you could run as a side hustle. This is great for product managers or any professionals who are looking for a way to set up their side business but don't really have enough time to do the initial market testing and building. Colab will take it away, make sure that your users want it, they'll hand you a working product, and they'll even find your first paying customers. Click on the link below and let them know that David and Ilan sent you for $250 off. Validate and build.
All right, so the next tip is to make use of AI Studio. Now, this is a free studio that anybody can use as long as you have a free Google account, which I'm sure a lot of people might have. So there are so many tools in here. One of the things that I find to be very useful from a product management perspective is this speech generation capability here. Why does this matter? Well, this matters because for product feature videos where you would want to talk through, oh, this is how it does this is how it does that, you got to click here and walk through that whole process. You can have a pleasant narrator talk through it without any of the ums and ahs that we are having here on this podcast. It's this native speech generation. Here, you can see that there's two modes. You can have a single speaker mode or a multi-speaker mode. I'm going to choose single speaker, keep it simple. And over here, you can choose which model to use. Pro is also free, so that's great. And down here, you have a temperature setting. Don't worry about that. That sets how variable the output is. Over here, you can also choose the voice. So which voice do we feel like today? Sure, let's choose this voice. Now I can just simply start typing. And in fact, I can give it style instructions, which could include something like, say, an accent. All right, so here I've told it to speak with a strong Brooklyn accent. Here's the text that it's going to say. What you can also do is give it emotions. So we can add, say, here, a laugh. I don't know why they would laugh after introing us, but let's just add that into there. We can say excited over here, and let's see how this goes.
This is very exciting, David. I'll admit that this is not a tool that I have made use of, so I'm really glad that you're showing us how to do this.
Welcome to Prompt and Circumstance. We are delighted today to talk to you about practical ways you can use AI tools in your everyday life.
Amazing.
The Brooklyn accent. So I think this is wonderful. I love that it's free, of course. And so you can make this multiple lines, which is what I recommend, because each time that you generate the audio, it might end up sounding a little bit different to the speaker. And so my recommendation is get your entire script done and then drop it into here with emotions as well if you like, or an accent if you like, and just hit go. And then you can over here download the audio and add it into your product video. All right, so that was just the speech side of things. As I said, there are so many other tools you could use in here. There's image generation. So you come here to generate media. My recommendation is Imagine or Imagen. I think it's called Imagine. And there's also video generation here with Veo. So a lot to explore here, but certainly I think that speech generation has the most applicability to product folks.
Very cool, David. Thank you so much for sharing this. Now let's get on to our last tip, which is about using deep research.
Yeah, so deep research is something that is available in multiple different tools. I'm just going to show you what it looks like here in Gemini, which is also free, but it's also available in Perplexity. It's available in Claude. It's available in GPT. And so here I'm in Gemini, and you notice that down here I don't have the option for it. I need to come up here, change the model to Flash, and then choose deep research. All right, so here I can type in the research topic, and it's going to really dive into this topic for me. Now, what can we use this for? So many things. From a product perspective, we can use it for looking at a market. So maybe you want to consider the market dynamics. What are the current forces of the dynamic of the market? Is it growing? And if so, at what rate? Who are the competitors and so forth? Maybe you want to look at the size of the market. What's the total addressable market? How many people fall into this category? Yada, yada, right? And so this is something that is very powerful. You're going to end up with a large report at the end of this. And my recommendation is to take that report and put it into NotebookLM, right? So this is something that can take a very lengthy report and then generate a podcast with it. So when you throw it in, you can come over here and click generate, and it's going to generate a great podcast for you.
It's a really great way to catch up on topics. I use this all the time for market research or sizing, like you said, David. It's really all over the place for me, where I really need to deeply understand a topic. But, we're all busy people, so it'll generate, maybe a 10, 15 page report for you. And then when you drop it in here, you get a 15-minute podcast. You can listen to that while you're cooking or walking around. And then if there's a particular topic that you want to dive deeper on, then you can open up the report and really focus in or hone in on that section.
That's right. And with NotebookLM, they have this discover option. So if you don't want to do deep research, you can even just come up over here and say something like recent news about, say, Lovable, the vibe coding company. And so this is going to just use Google search, and it's going to find a bunch of different news. You can import that, and that can be what drives your podcast, your research, and you can also chat with findings.
Very, very cool. The combination of deep research plus those audio generation capabilities is really an incredible combo and such an accelerator for product teams. And on deep research, I think there's a lot more to get into there. So, David, what are we going to do with that?
I think it's time to dive deep on deep research.
That's right. So that's what you all have to look forward to next week. And in the meantime, you can like and subscribe the podcast. Leave us a comment, give us feedback, let us know what we could be doing better. And you can also find us on socials at PNC Podcast. See you next week.
See you next time.